All right, no fire starter today. I apologize, but I really don't because Shemeka Michelle is going to join us, but we have a special guest in April Chapman. She has her own podcast called Unshakable. She covers a lot of the issues that we cover right here on the Harmony Channel. She was down in Mississippi earlier this week. I'm going to do a separate interview with her about that. She was down there covering the Nolan Wells case and talking with the families involved. I can't wait for that conversation. But today we're going to cover what's going on at the Washington Post and Karen Attiah. This is a woman that had tweeted out some really negative things about the death of Charlie Kirk. And the Washington Post said, hey, we don't need any of that. She was a columnist there covering race and culture or whatever. And they fired her. She sued to get her job back. And this week she won that lawsuit and has been reinstated. April, let's start with April's video that I saw that made me think, man, I want to get April on the show and talk about Karen and just the state of black women, something that me and Shemeka talk a lot about. So I'm going to start with this 2-minute clip of April so you guys get a flavor for the type of content that April does. Let's play the clip.
Y'all not going to like this, but it is risky and full of hidden liabilities to hire a black woman. They tend to be difficult, okay? They tend to be less compliant. They are more likely to file a lawsuit and cry racism or sexism or some other ism as a way to extort money from a company. She will get the company embroiled in some lawsuit that never ends. And so you don't have to take my word for it. But because of the lack of the accountability and the ethnic narcissism of most liberal black females. Like, you don't really have this problem in conservative spaces with black women. But since 92% of all black women are progressive and liberal and Marxist in their worldview, what I'm saying holds to be true. And they bring their worldview with all of their ethnic narcissism and their privilege and their victim mentality. And what is the word that I'm looking for? They bring a lot of arrogance and they bring a lot of entitlement to the workplace. And what ends up happening is it creates a very uncomfortable, unbecoming work environment to therefore now, despite all of the degrees and all of the accolades that women are boasting, they are a hiring liability on top of the fact the vast majority, these DEI, the 400,000 DEI government jobs were not jobs based on competence or necessity. They were symbolism jobs as opposed to substance jobs.
That's amazing, particularly coming from a black woman. We're used to hearing that type of commentary from Shemeka Michelle, but I think we've discovered another Shemeka Michelle in April Chapman. I want to give you a bit more context, just a little bit, and then we're going to bring April and Shemeka on. I just want to share with you, the Washington Post said in its termination letter to Miss Attiah's post about Mr. Kirk that they had harmed the integrity of the Washington Post and violated the standards requiring employees to use social media with civility and respect. Miss Attiah's remarks about Mr. Kirk's assassination, which she posted to the social network Blue Sky on September 10th, the day he was shot. This is on the day he was shot. Responded to the outpouring of grief after the shooting with this: refusing to tear my clothes and smear ashes on my face in performative mourning for a white man that espoused violence is not the same as violence. She wrote this on a post on the day he was shot. I can't blame the Washington Post for not wanting to be associated with Miss Attiah. I'm not surprised that she sued, and I'm not surprised that some liberal judge or some liberal court reinstated her. April, the commentary we played of you, was that inspired by what just was transpiring with Miss Attiah?
Truth be told, I just learned about this woman's firing and reinstatement literally with your producers right before I came on. So it's just by God's providence that I had put that reel out. And then we have a real life example precisely outlining what I was talking about. It really wasn't inspired by that. This is just me knowing higher level, upper level management, C-suite executives, small business owners alike. These are conversations that are happening behind the scenes. It's almost it's like the starter package. You know, if you have a company, it's an unwritten corporate culture that eventually it's going to be a problem with the Black women.
Mm. Well, what did inspire you, if not Karen Attiah? Was it just the whole conversation around DEI that has sparked up again?
Well, yeah, in light of the rise of DEI, you had so many Black women complaining that, well, it really was Jamal Bryant. Jamal Bryant was complaining that the offerings were down in his church because Donald Trump issued all of these federal DEI prohibitions, and so all the Black women don't have jobs now, and so that's why the church offering plates are suffering. And so this was my response to that. I said, listen, truth be told, now that's not the reason why the offering is down. But since you want to have a conversation about DEI and Black women, I said, everybody knows that in these corporate environments, usually the ones that you're going to have a problem with are going to be female. I was being fair. I was talking about females in general, but at the top of that totem pole, anecdotally, this was my opinion, I said it's Black women. I know CEOs, I know small business owners, and even the woke ones will quietly agree with me and be like, well, I mean, all the problems and the arbitrations and the HR meetings that I've been drug into over sexism and racism usually is at the helm of a Black woman who originates it.
Shemeka Michelle, want to get you into this conversation. April has said something, and did y'all coordinate on outfits and the whole nine? Or no, no.
No, this is crazy. All the way to the way the shirt goes up. I was just looking at her like, wow, we are really twinning today.
Uh, I want to bring you into the conversation, Shemeka. April said something that I did not know or hadn't didn't know or hadn't thought about. Jamal Bryant complaining about the offerings, the tithing down. It's April's kind of dismissing it, but I actually think there may be some reality to it. The high profile black mega churches
Mm.
are run over with liberal black women who are in the corporate world, and many of them have DEI type jobs. They're not at some engineering company to be an engineer. They're there to manage the engineers and make sure that they pay the proper respect to Juneteenth and whatever George Floyd holiday we got going on. And I could see a black mega church like Jamal Bryant's being impacted by the elimination, the de-emphasis of DEI. A lot of black women on the unemployment line or scrambling on their jobs are concerned. And maybe they start thinking about saving their money rather than tithing it because, hey, I'm on weak standing with my corporate job. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, Jason, and I would say a lot of single black women, especially because only in the black church do you have women running around, jumping, shouting, and tossing money for not having a man. I absolutely love this video that April did because I tell people all the time, confidence isn't confidence if you need approval. But right here, it absolutely feels good. Over a decade ago, I was working at a school and we had a female principal who was on the way out. And it was a charter school. And so they called in the higher ups, the company to come in and sit with us and ask us who we would like to see in the principal position. And I remember sitting having this conversation with the higher ups, and I just told them, I just want a man. It needs to be a man in that position because men are better leaders. I just think they're better to get along with. And they looked at me as if I said curse words, because how dare I, a black woman, applaud that they were getting rid of a black woman and then asking for a black man or any type of man, really, actually, to come in, just a man. And I'm so happy that April does the content that she does because it's so spot on. And we actually need more people just saying the right things. I always say, in order to beat the degenerates, we have to beat the algorithm. So it's so nice to just have more voices saying exactly what needs to be said.
I just noticed y'all even got dang near the same earrings on. I mean, this is incredible.
I love
But
it.
April, how much blowback have you gotten for putting out that video? And how long have you been saying the types of things you said here? And what has been the reaction from black women? I'm sure you're a sellout and treasonous, but I'll let you explain.
Oh, of course. I mean, most Black women who are liberal and progressive have issues with my content, but I do make my content for them because someone has to tell them the truth. But actually, it was my husband who formulate and helped shape this worldview of mine. When we first met, he talked a lot about feminism. This is over about 20 years ago. He talked a lot about feminism and women's lib and how it was destroying the Black family, and how we started seeing more and more Black women struggling to be in healthy relationships. And I remember listening to him say that, and I could see truth to that in my own lived experience and in my own friend circle. And the moment he and I got together is when I started to experience tension with my friend circle. It was almost like they wanted me to kind of be alone. And then I saw what he was saying, how difficult the attitudes, you think you're too good to make him a sandwich, or to buy him a gift and things like that. So I'm not really worried about the blowback to the content, because somebody has to take, the bows and the arrows to speak the truth. And I understand sometimes I'm a little forward and spicy, but people who love you are going to tell you the truth. And I want to see more Black women and any kind of man. I don't care what color it is. We just need to get together and start being fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And we can't do that if we're constantly alone or unapproachable or difficult to get along with. And the workplace is one of the main places where you see that the most. Talk to any man who's in corporate America, and he may not want to say it out loud, but you get him in private, he will absolutely agree with me 100%.
Tell me this, and some of this we'll get into tomorrow when I just want to unpack some of your background today, but we'll get into detail tomorrow. Were you inspired? Is any of your inspiration Kevin Samuels? Like, hey, I'm going to be the female version of Kevin Samuels, because that is kind of how you come across. Although Kevin was single, you're married, but was Kevin Samuels any part of your inspiration?
I'll say this. Kevin Sam, I'm a Christian, so while I didn't ideologically agree with everything he said, the man was not wrong. My husband and I used to sit and binge watch and listen to Kevin, and I would just look at my husband and like, babe, you've been saying this since I've known you. But we were listening to it because it was finally it was entering into the public square, and women were not comfortable hearing it. And I was like, well, then you would absolutely hate my husband, because my husband says all of these things and more. And he wasn't as nice. I mean, Kevin wasn't necessarily nice about it, but he just spoke it like an alpha male. And he really did change a lot of lives. You may not have liked him. It was kind of like medicine going down. It didn't feel good. But once it got down in the system, and your immune system was stimulated, and you started realizing there's some truth to what this man is saying, I'm part of the problem. So you can say maybe there was some inspiration from Kevin Samuels, But more than that, it was really just a biblical worldview and understanding headship and male and female relationships as God has designed it.
I, being not just maybe the influence of being married and having a husband, but also I think having a husband, having a spouse, it gives you a confidence that
Mhm.
I can say these things because when I go home, I'm not alone. I don't need 20 girlfriends to take girls trips and all this other stuff. I can just do me because I'm in a marriage and I got the support I need. I got a man that's following God and a man that I'm following that's following God.
I mean, it's absolutely a heightened level of confidence there because one, we both keep Jesus in our heart and 9 millimeters on our hip. So I feel free to say a lot of the things I say. Yes, because the protection of the Holy Spirit is nice, but people are crazy. And when you say inflammatory things on the internet, you need to be prepared for the criticism and the backlash. But having him, one, he's not going to let anything happen to me. And then two, letting the world know these ideas come from the fact that I've lived it. I actually have a real life. You can look at my life. We celebrate 19 years in December. We've been together for over 24 children later. And I've seen, if I would not be where I am today if I was a much more difficult person, unwilling to listen to wise counsel and unwilling to submit myself under the headship of a man who doesn't lord over me, but rather he loves me and washes me with the water of the word. What else can you ask for? There's a level of confidence that you can rest in knowing that this person has your best interests at heart and that he's not going to lead you into a ditch.
Shemeka, I just want to follow in on that, and then I have an additional follow up question for you. But it really, the difference, a single mother mindset, because Shemeka, you're divorced and you're unmarried at the moment, but you don't have a single mother's mindset, and that really is the plague of the Black community. Is that a single mother mindset is our cultural foundation, and everything runs through the filter of what does my baby mama, rather than my wife or whatever, everything runs through that lens and that mindset, and it leads to the type of chaos and pathologies and dysfunction that we experience.
Yeah, and we're actually what, in the third generation of bastards raising bastards, because we continue to tell young girls that they don't need a man. And so this is why we are where we are. I've never had that mindset, although I'm a product of rape. I always looked at people around me who were married during that time. Everybody on my street, they were married. So I would look at those women and desire to be that. So once I grew up, I never had the mindset that I wanted to be single or that I didn't need a man or that men weren't important. But it's happening all across the country, and we can see the effects of that. So although I hated to get divorced, I had to. I think I would have been somewhere dead in a grave had I not. I just still never hated men, never thought that I was better without one. I always knew the importance, and I guess it had to be my biblical worldview because I really truly believe that God created woman for man. He looked at man and said it's not good that he should be alone, and he gave him a woman. And so I believe that God is right all day, every day, no matter what society says or what they try to push. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's ideal. And so even though I'm single or unmarried right now, I understand that God is right. And we can actually see the examples play out all across the country.
I want to bring the conversation back to Karen Attiah, the columnist for the Washington Post, and they hand us such easy layups because here's a woman on the day that Charlie Kirk is assassinated. Everybody's seeing it, and her instinct is to take some sort of pot shot. We know that, let's say it wasn't, let's say it's the day Nipsey Hussle gets killed, and someone white comes out on that day, and we talk about Nipsey Hussle, a gangster rapper, probably a drug addict, whatever. But if someone white has said something negative over social media about him, and they had any position of prominence, a columnist for the Washington Post, white, Nipsey Hussle got what was coming to him. What do you expect if you promote all that gangsterism? We know those people would be fired and not brought back. It's the contradiction, the hypocrisy is clear as day.
Right.
Shemeka, that was to
Yeah.
you. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Shemeka.
Oh, yeah, of course they would have been fired, and everybody would have been in an uproar, making sure they were fired had this been the other way around. And it's so frustrating because this woman actually had no idea what she was talking about. This whole thought that Charlie Kirk spewed evil or he said things against Black women, it just wasn't true. So now she kind of feels vindicated in being able to just spread lies. So I hate that they gave her the job back because it wasn't even just that it was disrespectful, it just wasn't true. And so I hate that she won her job back because now she feels more empowered, more arrogant to just continue to go down the same path of just being loud and wrong as most Black women do.
Go ahead, Angel.
April.
April, I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, what I was
Angel.
going to say is the Washington Post, just like other woke organizations, they created this environment. They are the ones who built these monsters and empowered these women to feel as if they could say whatever they wanted to say, whether it's accurate or true or not, baseless claims. It did not matter. It was almost like at one point in this country, the woker the better. Well, now it got to the point where Karen's commentary was too woke for their palate, and they felt that she put the company in harm's way and their reputation was being endangered. And so they took action to try to terminate her. But because she wasn't a union employee, she couldn't just sue outright. They had to go through arbitration first. So they go through arbitration, and it's determined that the Washington Post couldn't even get rid of her based on their own internal standard. And so while I would agree what she said was absolutely egregious and it did warrant a termination, this is what happens when the woke eat the woke. They end up both falling into a ditch, and now they're stuck with this woman because it's not bad enough that she took the company through this 1 year legal process through arbitration. She gets her job back. She gets back pay and back benefits. And they're like, okay, well, you can come back. And she gladly takes the job back and then has the nerve to say, well, they're the ones that should feel uncomfortable. This woman is going to be held on two wheels every day. Every team meeting, she's going to be more emboldened to say even more egregious and inflammatory things because now she thinks she's untouchable. They created this monster, so now they need to go ahead and just keep feeding the beast.
Well,
Mhm.
April, the other thing here is that I think matriarchal culture, and I don't want to put it all at the feet of women, but I do think it's the driving force. I think that Karen and many Black women and many Black people think that Black progress is anything that bothers white people, anything that trolls white people. That's our philosophy. That if it bothers, annoys, triggers white people, that's good for Black people. It's such an illogical thought, but that does seem to be the prevailing sentiment.
I agree. I recently penned an article for the Washington Examiner picked it up. It was for the National Center for Public Policy, and I titled it "White Guilt is Dead and We Killed It." And I think we need more of that. More people like me and Shemeka, and even your platform, Jason. We need to say these things out loud because the argument that we can say whatever we want about white people and then claim the victim that worldview, it needs to be put to bed, because one, it creates a very hostile work environment, hostile communities. We'll never be able to move past racism and all of this ethnic partiality if one group is constantly given a pass to either say what they want to say, or insinuate that the other has done something to them without any evidence. All of these microaggressions, all of this new lexicon that we have. I mean, it's exhausting. I'm tired of it. I'm sure Shemeka is tired of it. I mean, we sit and we listen to so much content, and we just sit and we roll our eyes, and we're like, this is not sustainable.
So April is saying we killed wokeism. And
Well, I said white guilt.
White guilt. I'm sorry. Yeah, white guilt. Have we, Shemeka? Because I think we've certainly injured it, but it's going through death throes. It's on life support. It's being resuscitated. They want these DEI departments back because it's the DEI departments, the diversity, equity, inclusion, the HR. That's why Karen has her job back. And that's why they want DEI reinstated across corporate America. Is it dead, or is it fighting back?
I don't think it's dead either. I definitely think it's on life support. It's kind of like roaches, I guess. They're just really hard to get rid of. And that's where I think that we are, even with the woke Black people. You know, sometimes it'll seem like we've made some type of progress, and then they go right back to the same foolishness. And that's what I think happens with white people. I think we are not in the place where they're bowing down and kissing the feet of Black people. But in so many other areas, they're still like, hey, you know, I'm sorry that your ancestors had to go through this, you know. And so I do think it's been injured, but I do think we have a long way to go before we can actually just throw the dirt over it. It's already dead. I think we have a ways to go.
Well, ladies, thank you for joining me today here on Harmony. Thanks for making the show look and sound better. Tomorrow,
Jason?
yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I just want to remind you that April is married, because I think when you heard her talk, the heavens opened up, which is why you referred to her as Angel. You just
That was good, sis.
Yeah,
That was good.
thank you. Well, you know what, Shemeka? Tomorrow, I'm going to get some one-on-one time with April. It's just going to be me and her talking about what's going on in Mississippi and Nolan Wells. I look forward to that. Thank you guys for joining me on Harmony. We'll see you tomorrow.